think we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Raman from Investing with the Difference. I'm still waiting for people to join. In the meanwhile, a quick introduction. If you're new, we are hosting a web page on Facebook and a group Investing with the Difference. We have been doing Bitcoin buying. We are a group of people who believe in cryptocurrencies, and we have been doing a lot of altcoin trading, and we have made some good gains in last 6 weeks. Our goal is to continue investing in Bitcoin as a holding and using altcoin trading for growing our Bitcoin. So, and recently we just started Twitter. We were not on Twitter earlier, so if you are on Twitter and you're looking for our updates, so please join us at crypto_IWAD, that is investing with the difference. And you can get some tweets from us on YouTube videos. And also, please join our YouTube channel. If you're already watching this video, I'm assuming you are on our channel, but if you're not, do subscribe. That helps you get notification for our latest videos as well as live sessions. So while we are waiting for anybody to join and for the question and answers, let's have a look at Bitcoin. So as you know, I've been tracking this trend line which we broke out. So I still believe it was a bullish move, and we broke out above this trend line, which was all the way up to $20,000. And now what we are looking at is a consolidation, I can say. I had not touched this chart for a long time again. So if you remember, I had a very good support and resistance levels I had discovered in this zone, where I suggested everybody that you should accumulate Bitcoin in this area when we were at $6,500 or $7,000. Now, after this couple of breakouts, one is of course the most important one, I think, if you have seen my videos. And then we actually went very fast, and we were hit by 200-day moving average, which is kind of acting as a blocking point right now, while this blue line, which is the 200-day exponential moving average, is giving us support. So even after all these movements and yesterday's crash, the mini crash, you can say, because it again fell down to 8,800 levels, we are still above the 200-day exponential moving average. So it's looking all right in the sense that it's not broken down below support levels. We have multiple supports, as I mentioned multiple times. 8,700 is my 8,722 now, I think, the exponential moving average. 8,500 is another support, because this is where we had broken out and created a new high, because we moved away from this high which we made and the breakout point. So looking good. I think it may be a buy opportunity. Overall, yes, there is a potential that this can break down below. But I think we are not worried, because ultimately what our goal is to keep increasing our Bitcoin holding. Let's look at a more detailed chart. So again, if you are following this, I have been tracking the Bitcoin futures, and this is on BitMax, XBT USD. 15-minute chart. So as I said, we had a breakdown from a triangle. So this was yesterday's breakdown on an intraday term. So of course, there's a lot of mess, because I want to keep the history of my analysis. But if you see here, this breakdown was huge. There was a lot of selling. There were a lot of red bars. But ultimately, we ended up taking support at 8,700 area. 8,800 area actually on the futures. So this is still, we can get back, hopefully, because as I said, we have a lot of consolidation happening around these levels. It's not able to break above 9,200 convincingly, and ultimately going back to our 200-day moving average, which is actually going up now. I would update these levels now. I think I would look at $10,000. This is what I originally expected. If you remember, when we were moving up, I was expecting this red line to keep going up, because the 200-day moving average is still increasing. And I was hoping that this will hit around $10,000. We did hit a little earlier, but I think we can try again around $10,000 if we are able to hold this support. And I like this. I like this accumulation. If you look at all these candles, most of them have very similar lows. So if you see, there's a lot of support coming in at this level. So this is not usual. So if you see, the only other time, if you go back in this chart, the only other time you see this kind of consolidation happen was this. And perhaps you can say a little bit here, before we broke down. So it's, see, technical analysis is not a sure way of knowing what is going to happen. So as I say, I'm a very simple technical chart person. Like, I don't go into too many indicators. I look at trend lines, I look at candles, and that tells me what we should be doing. So so I think that is one thing. And let's look at other charts on, for example, I think our favorite coins, that is EOS. And let me go back and say that so it has gone. So people are kind of worried about the move. Like yesterday, we had a couple of days of correction now on EOS in dollar terms. And if you look, so anyway, I think we should look at the bigger picture. So we broke out of all-time highs, which we made in January. And I'm actually, see, this was a huge move from around $5 to $6. And actually, when we started buying and we recommended in our portfolio, it was around $4. And it went all the way up to $22 on one day. So I think the correction is healthy. I don't see any problem. I think we can still take support in this $16-17 area. There was some FUD around the security holes and smart contract issues, which and I think Dan Larimer has come back and confirmed that there are no such concerns. See, the thing is, it's ultimately all the cryptocurrencies, they are based on software, which you can, and they're platforms, and EOS is one of the platforms. So if there is a bug written in the code, as long as the platform and the definition is stable, you can always fix those. So that is what Dan Larimer is trying to say. So he cannot control every programmer who's going to write on EOS to have a bug-free code, but as long as you can update them, as long as you can fix those, that is not a problem with the platform. It's a problem with the particular smart contract. So that was the thesis. I think hopefully it will recover. I think it's already it's forming a hammer here, so I'm not too worried. And I think a lot of people are interested in our second pick, which is GTO. Again, it has run up very fast. If you see, we've recommended it here. We have been talking about it actually very early on in late March, which was around 24 cents. We added it to our core portfolio around 20 cents. And here we go. We have gone all the way up to 56 cents on dollar terms. Again, this is, I usually don't track dollar terms, but the core portfolio, I think people like to see what is happening in dollar values. And it's a small correction, so it's still, it can be seen as buying opportunity. But remember, GTO is not moving as fast as EOS. EOS is a very old project. It has gone up by almost, like, it has a long history, and they are launching now, and a lot of, it's a platform. It will be very useful. It will have a lot of projects built on top of it. And GTO is a utility coin. It's a very good project, but it's never going to be as big as EOS, because it's still a utility coin. It has a purpose it serves, and it is a small market cap. That's why we like it. It has made a lot of gains, so be careful if you're buying here. But I think it's taken good support here in this area. It was, and I think that there is this event happening on the new exchange, Upbit, that will help it, and because people will try to buy it before that, so there can be another big run in next couple of days before again it can take a dip, because traders try to take advantages of this kind of events on exchanges. And if you go and look at the coin market cap, I'll show you that there's some interesting things happening on GTO. Okay, I'm not able to get to this. Okay, crypto. So even though Upbit is a fairly new market, it's a Korea exchange, and if you go to the markets tab, you see that it is attracting 85% of the volumes on Upbit in Korean won. So this is mostly the recent moves up and down on Gifto are because of this Korean exchange. So this is a reason for volatility. This is why we ran up very fast. So I won't be surprised if it corrects, but I'm not taking profits here. It's a pretty good project. They are doing a lot more good things. If it runs up again, let's say if it runs up again to 60 cents and above, I would maybe take a 25% of my portfolio for trading around 4th May, which is another 3 days from now, and look for a dip to buy in. Again, it's a trade we are trying to do. Don't try to sell too much, because then you are actually losing out the opportunity to make bigger gains if this coin takes off. And by end of this year, they have very good roadmap, and I think it can gain much more from here. And we need market to help us also. Like, it's not. It's right now we are sitting at 410 million, a billion market cap, and hopefully this 410 billion can take its all-time high again, around 800 or 850, I think. Around that area we had all-time highs. So if you're watching us on YouTube Live, if you have any questions or comments, please add it to our chat tab right below the video, and we will be able to take it up. So one more thing I wanted to highlight is EOS has made all-time highs recently, and if you, again, we are talking about market cap. EOS is actually all-time high, while market is still 50% down from the top. So that is, I think, the strength, and I think they have capability. Once I talked about on other videos the new projects launching, and what is going, like they will be issuing a new airdrops, and there will be a lot more value coming out of EOS, not just the EOS token itself. Plus, I think now EOS is being traded in so many exchanges, and see the volumes again. OKX, Upbit, which is again a Korean exchange. BitThumb is a Korean exchange. You see the volumes are mostly on those exchanges, which is not, these are not the biggest of the exchanges worldwide. They are very regional. Huobi, Bitfinex. So this is interesting in the sense that there's a lot of regional interest, and I hope that this is not some traders which are trying to take it up before the launch, because every coin which has gone up before the launch, it has come down right before the actual event, like a day or two before. So we still have a month to worry about it, but I would say be careful on this. I would keep watching. I will be doing some EOS specific videos soon. The few things which I'm learning is what is going to happen when the mainnet launches. Now, we know that Bitfinex and BitThumb and many of these exchanges, I think Binance has confirmed that they will be supporting the token swap. So if you are not owning your own EOS on MyEther wallet or MetaMask or whatever personal wallets you use, you can leave it here. That is, if you find it easy, because of course, if you own your own tokens, you need to keep them secure. And we have already talked about in some other YouTube videos how to go and register your keys, how to own your own EOS, but there is no wallet. So I was investigating how do you access your new tokens once the mainnet launch. And the point is, because right now the mainnet is not going to be launched by EOS, not by block.one. It's going to be launched by it is a community project now. That's how it is designed, because of course the challenges are because of the SEC regulations. EOS cannot be it cannot be a project where the tokens where you bought cannot represent security. So just to be safe, they are just releasing this software as open source, and it will be taken up by the community. And let me actually show you some of the things I was looking at. So I talked about block producers. A lot of block producers have been trying to get to EOS, and now I was looking through some of the, like, big one is another exchange. Actually, it's a marketplace. They have tried to do some kind of voting simulation of just to uh, get, like, this happened in April earlier, and they were trying to get a feeling of who can be the top block producers. So these are all they put all these block producers and created a voting simulation. and they even identified who got how many votes. A lot of people participated, and we don't know how many will actually participate. Like a lot of investors don't even know what is going on, and there will be a voting on EOS for what is going to be, who is going to be the 21 block producers. And once the voting happens, these people will be decided. You already know about EOS DAC. So this is a community driven block producer. They already shared tokens with us. So if you held EOS by 15th April, you should be receiving an airdrop from them. And I think every block producer is creating their own pitch on why they should be chosen. It's a democratic process. And once they launch this network, once the EOS mainnet is ready, the source code is ready, we're still waiting for details on when the voting will happen. And it should happen immediately or maybe earlier, I don't know, because it's difficult to define. Like the snapshot will be on June 1st, and those are the people who should be voting, but you need to immediately launch the network. So a lot of these blog producers are actually coming together and doing some trial launches before the event. So they are preparing themselves. And I was reading about the Zcash issues when they launched, when they were ready to launch the fork from Bitcoin. They had a lot of problems. Okay, so I see that YouTube has a problem. Let me see if we are still on. I've been told that we are not really live. I see that YouTube has a problem. All right, no, I think we are good. So again, I would say that if you're watching on YouTube, do post your comments and questions. Coming back to what I was talking about is this EOS block producer. So once we have this voting, once these 21 block producers are identified, they will have to launch the network. Then that those tokens, which I don't know if they are going to issue a wallet which you can access your tokens, you can trade them. So one thing's for sure, that the exchanges will not be ready as fast as maybe the community, which will be ready with your tokens, which will be more importantly, as we talked about, there are going to be new projects which are going to be launched, and they are taking snapshot on June 1st on the EOS network based on the registered tokens. And there is no guarantee that each of those projects will give you or the tokens if you are keeping your tokens on exchange. And also the exchanges may not support those new projects if they're small at this stage, and they may become bigger later. So there are a lot of question marks. I still prefer if you keep your tokens with yourself, register them. We have been trying to guide you on that. So let us know if you have any questions. But again, it's a lot of open items. There are a lot of communities being formed. If you see, most of these are local, like EOS Engine. So there are a lot of reasons, like EOS New York, I follow. They are pretty good, actually. Means they have been doing a lot of work in community, helping people understand what's happening. EOS DAC, I think, as we have talked about, they have they're again community driven, and because they have already shared their tokens and their kind of equity, you can say, with the existing EOS token holders, they're hoping that they will get voted, and they will keep their model is to share the rewards directly to the token holders. So everybody has different way of showing value to the community. So we don't know. A lot of regional stuff, mostly EOS Dublin, EOS Engine, all these are getting a lot of support based on how many people are behind them. And I hear that. Okay, one more thing I wanted to show you is what is happening. Like, who owns EOS tokens? So that is one question which comes up. What is real current, like, are there any big whales? I was talking to one person who is like who was holding pretty big chunk. Of course, nobody's going to disclose exactly how much they are holding. So I wanted to show on the Ethereum Explorer, we call it Explorer. So if you're using this site for tracking your own wallet, let me try to get this out of the way. Sorry for this trouble. Okay. So this is the Explorer on EOS and the details about EOS token. So if you see, There are a lot of people who are concerned about EOS in the sense that what will happen after launch, whether block one will just take the money, run away with it, or whatever. So let's see. So 10% of token, this is the block one. So if this address is block one address, it's if you click on it, it will show you B1. So they have taken address which just says 000B1. They own 10%, and this 10% is locked for 10 years, and it will be released every 1 year. So what they're saying is, because it is locked for 10 years, they will support it, means just for their own sake they will keep updating the software, and every 1% when it vests, they will be able to benefit. So it's in their interest to keep adding value to the ecosystem, and that every year the 1% vesting will help them grow their money. And that's what uh, venture funds or any company invests in. They are not a non-profit company. Block One is in it for profits, and that is a good thing. It's not a bad thing that they own 10%, and they will continue driving development and kind of moderating what is happening in block producer world. And with a 10% vote, they can actually do much better than some kind of monopolies which can form. There can be cartels in block producer world. They will have a big chunk of votes. That's another good thing. Then when I look at this, I don't know, means who nobody knows who is this 7.3% EOS token holder. One theory which people were suggesting me was it's an exchange. But what I looked at, for example, Binance, they have hundreds of Ethereum wallets. I would say if we talk about a big exchange, mostly all these you're looking at like 1%, 0.1, 0.9%. These are, in my view, more like exchanges, because they hold the tokens in like Ethereum wallets across different wallets. They don't keep one single wallet for scalability, for safety. There are a lot of reasons they don't do that. So this may be some big guy, like maybe Dan Larimer himself, if he bought it from the open market, or nobody knows who this is. But there's a big whale here, 7.3% of tokens sitting on 73 million of those. Then again 5%. But if you see, these are now these are top 50, and they own like 64% of tokens, and we don't even need to worry about the last 10. I think the first 20. So Scott here has a comment that one of the large wallet is the crowd sale project. It makes sense. I think we are still away, like how many days away from ending? I think we still have another 30-40 days of sale, and this may make sense actually. So this may be the remaining tokens from, let's see if we click on it, and if we see that this is the place where they're releasing 200 million tokens every day. So by the way, this is why I'm doing this is just to teach you, like, this is a very useful tool, Explorer. You can, blockchain is public, all the information is public, but see, this particular address actually owns a lot more tokens. So I don't know. I think we need to look at Etherscan. So Etherscan is another site which gives you the transactions, in the sense, what are the recent transactions. So let me try to see if I can find that, etherscan.io. And if we enter that address, which we just looked at, the wallet address, and so it's looks like they are doing a lot of transactions. There's 622,000 transactions, token transfers. Yeah, it is a crowd sale. Okay. So this is right. So you can see all this information you can easily detect from these two combined sites, Etherscan and Explorer. So here we are seeing that they are, no, actually this is not again, this is from crowd sale. So this guy is getting new EOS. So this guy is buying every crowd sale. It's almost like every day multiple buying happening in a small volume. So it still looks like a whale who is accumulating every day. I don't think it's, and it's actually every minute. It's very interesting why there's so many transactions. I was assuming that it happens once in a day. from crowd sale. So it's we can go and investigate, but it looks like this is still not clear. So this guy is definitely buying from directly from crowd sale, but it's not necessarily the crowd sale account. So let's go back. So what I was trying to highlight is now, yeah, okay, where was my Explorer? Okay, so what I was trying to highlight is that this is going to be interesting, and you have to, like, all these token holders, they have to vote and to get to the block producers. And the block producers, 21 block producers, when they come up, they will be launching the network, and we will be seeing what happens in EOS world. And then it may take a few days, and definitely exchanges will take even longer to go and make sense out of it. So I was giving one example of ICX, which is like Icon project from Korea. They had their mainnet launched in January. Binance confirmed they will support it. Even today, Binance is still trading ERC20 tokens. And because they are not that big a project, they decided to continue supporting ERC20 tokens. But EOS, all the tokens will be frozen. We will move to the mainnet. It's not going to be ERC20 anymore. So I still believe that you should own your tokens. You should participate in voting. We will keep posting more information. If you're interested, you should learn more about these block producers, what they're doing. As I said, this was the one example of community trying to vote for and preparing for it. This was a kind of a simulation. It was not a real vote. But this gives us a good idea. Like, a lot of people are actually participating in these votes. One more thing, okay, going back to the Explorer, I looked at his wallet addresses. This one is the 7% guy or the 5% guy. These are not even registered. So whoever these whales are, what is the other risks? The risks are these guys. I checked whether they have registered these wallets for EOS on the EOS network, and they have not. These keys are not registered. So either they will move these tokens to a registered wallet at a late stage, or they will not register, and maybe these are big whales accumulating, and they're going to dump it in the market. So a lot of things we can observe here from public blockchain. We will keep an eye on it. We are open to discussion. Let's talk about it and learn how it can impact. Because I think some of us, like especially me, I have moved a lot of money into EOS, so I'm worried about what's going to happen around mainnet. We will keep talking about it and see what we are going to do and how we can react to these changes happening in EOS world. So any questions, please feel free to enter your chat comments. People who are joining late, I reviewed the charts. You can always watch the recording, but let's go back to BTC. So I think this is not something new. I have been talking, I have not changed anything. It's the same indicators I'm looking at, 200 exponential moving average. We are still above it. A lot of candles almost touching this line. So we are taking good support in this area. And it's still 8,800 is a very strong support. So if you see, again, I talked about this on the futures chart. I was a little disappointed this morning when we broke down below this double bottom. It was looking like a good support around 88,670, 88,60 area. We dipped a little bit below. On Bitcoin, I think we dipped a little more. If you look at this today's candle, it was, oh, it's not much actually. It's 88,118. And on the futures, we were 88.66. So futures are actually holding much better on BitMax than the spot price. So spot price dipped for a minute. Again, this is Bitfinex. So again, Bitcoin is usually, when it is volatile across exchanges, the value can move around $100. So I'm not too worried. I think we are still forming this bottom here. But again, like, we are very close to, when we touch this same support line so many times, there's a good chance we can break it. So I'm not saying that we are safe. What I'm saying is we do have support here, and we can consolidate if we, like we did in this zone in around 6,500, 6,800 area. If we get enough volumes, and if we can break out of here, we should look for another try at $10,000 at some point. On the downside, I think 8,500 is still a good support. This was the last high around 8,480, and that was the breakout point from the trend line, which was our most important trend line of the year, which was forming all the way up to $20,000. So that is something which I would say is still our hope that we will hold 8,500 ultimately. So Rohan, thanks for your comments. I think I think you are right. Means you are looking for 8,600. I would say it doesn't matter if you're buying Bitcoin and if you believe that whether 8,500 or 8,600 will be the bottom. We are very close to the bottom. It's not going to make a huge difference to your investment if you buy now. What will make a huge difference is if you believe that it will break this support level, and that is what this is what is happening, and not really um, what is going to be like. In this area, don't try to play it. If you think it is going to hold here, you can go and buy it. All right. So Scott has a comment that when I see a big buyer like this showing up every day, I see an informed investor who is dollar cost averaging. Scott, I agree with you, but at current price, so let's go back to that and see. Uh, did we? Okay, I closed that window. But when somebody is holding a 71 million US, that is almost like a 1.2 billion dollar worth of US. I don't know if people are still like he's buying even now. It looks like he's still accumulating. So maybe it can be an exchange, or it can be anybody. Like it can be a Bitfinex, or it can be some institutional player building a huge holding in EOS. I agree with you, but I worry about that one big whale, because they can affect voting. They can affect. They can actually dump after maybe just before the mainnet launch, and that can create a huge selling pressure. So we need to keep an eye on what happens in these big whales in EOS world, and there are just handful of them. So if you look at this, if you'd say only top 10%, if you take out this block one, the 9 of the top 10, they hold 33% of the share, so which is huge, and some of these are really big. So Rohan is asking about what happens to alts and on the BTC dip. So I think yes, if it breaks below 8,500, we will, for our trading world, we will have to go back and maybe we liquidate everything into Bitcoin. We don't want to be holding a lot of alts if we are breaking down. Even I think I will start maybe rolling back on some of the trades if we cross below this blue line, which is and we will have to see a convincing breakdown, because sometimes it can be a bear trap where it's like it dips a little bit and then goes back very quickly. So I would say let's wait. I'm not yet convinced that we have broken down completely. There is a lot of negative news flow, which again hit us yesterday. The SEC again made some comments. They are actually scaring all the US based ICOs that all of them are securities. They will come under regulation. But I think it's ultimately most of these recent ICOs, for example, EOS and anybody, they are not even selling coins uh, to US buyers. US, China, all of them have kind of banned ICOs, you can say, because of regulations. And but there are a lot of other buyers. Still, the ICOs are still raising money, and that is what tells me that I don't think this is still overblown. I don't think there is any concern about the ICOs are going to fail or altcoins are going to fail. This is a worldwide phenomenon. I think it's not a one government coming and saying that we are not going to regulate it. They're just making the people and local people to lose out. Like today, I'm not able to participate in so many ICOs because I'm in US, which is not good, because these are some of the projects are good. They are really something I want to get into at ground floor and not really wait for them to list on exchanges when they already have given 100x returns. So yeah, means I think from trading point of view, I think this is negative news impacting from short term, but we are holding the support levels. I would say 8,700, 8,800 is still my support areas, and we are bouncing nicely from there. On BitMax, Rohan, I think you have a question. So BitMax, again, I'm not going to open my personal account. That's the only way I can show you how the trades are done. Just for my privacy reasons, I'm not going to open that. But this is the BitMax chart. I'm trying to figure out a way to do a video on BitMax where I can still keep my personal information secure. But overall, this is you can trade it. It's a 100x leverage. So what happens there is, if you are using 100 times leverage, let's say you buy one Bitcoin, you put in one Bitcoin, and the chart moves by 1%, you gain 100%. So you're doubling your money. But on the downside, if you enter at the wrong time, and like for example, if in yesterday's move, if you're holding, yeah, you will get liquidated very fast, because even a 1% move on Bitcoin will clean up all your margin. So what I am doing is I'm using the support levels, and I am actually adding margin. So for example, uh, hypothetically, let's say I'm buying 100 Bitcoins with a 1 Bitcoin margin. I add another 10 Bitcoin margin to that. So that gives me a protection for another 10% move down instead of 1% move. And that keeps my Bitcoin safe. But it's a lot of investment. So again, I'm just scaling up to make it easy. I'm not trading that big numbers, but I'm just trying to help you understand that leverage trading, I still don't know. I'm not issuing trades. I'm learning here because I have done a lot of derivative tradings in stocks and normal currency markets. So I have experience with that. But there are a lot of variables. See, the derivatives are very tricky. Like one example is the BitMEX sometimes gets overloaded. While I was doing my trades, they just say, oh, system is overloaded, I cannot accept even adding margin. I was not able to add margin for 3 minutes, and that can just kill my position. So these are the kind of risks you are talking about. If you do less leverage, you can do 10x. You can always so when you said change the leverage, you can change the leverage, but you're adding margin. So that's the same thing. Either you reduce the leverage or you add margin. It's the same thing. You are basically adding more money in margin and trying to play lesser. But for me, means ultimately, if you catch the right point, if you catch like there are so many, at a 15-minute chart or a 5-minute chart, I look at these individual breakouts. And for example, this is where this was a double top. This was forming a kind of a consolidation pattern. This is a trade I played, and this is where you can really double your money. And then you need to look out for an exit. You don't get too greedy, and you can just take your money and go off. But the problem is, I lost a couple of times because this patterns didn't work out. And I think mostly, even if you are ready with your strategy, I think mostly I lose on BitMEX sometimes because of the responsiveness of the exchange. So like usually on these big moves, they are overloaded and they are not able to accept margin. So you need to prepare in advance. So right now, the position I'm holding, I'm long. Just as a disclosure, I'm currently long with this. I'm assuming this support will hold. Currently, I've added enough margin that my stop loss is all the way down to 8,400. So means I will not get liquidated even if the Bitcoin goes all the way to 8,400. But on the other hand, I'm taking that risk that if it really goes to 8,400, I'm losing all that margin, which is more than 100%, because when you talk about 100%, that is what you invested, but I added additional margin, and that's at risk now. So that is the risk associated with the derivative trading. I'm still experimenting, as I said, and again, this is the real kind of a gamble, because unless you understand how you are going to control your risks, there is no way you can say that there is a strategy in place, because ultimately, market can surprise you. It can go exactly enough to liquidate you and come back, and you will not have time to react. So you need to be prepared for those. As long as you're prepared, I think you can do these tradings. I don't recommend it for people who have not done derivative trading in other worlds, because it comes with a lot of new risks. It comes with a lot of quirks. Plus, if you're long, you're every day you're paying some margin, like some interest on your position, because as a long person, you're borrowing money from the market when you are on leverage, and that also can impact your profits. So going short in BitMEX is actually much more profitable. Going long is not. So I think maybe when we hit this 200-day moving average, we were going down. This was a very good trade to go short and make money on BitMEX. Right now, I think we are kind of consolidating. If you go back, we have not had a big moves. Yeah, only $1,000 moves, but they are not a very clear pattern. We are consolidating. So I'm doing like a very measured approach, assuming that we will hold this 8,500 level. Any other questions, guys? So let me know. we can take up. So I think I still believe that everybody who is invested in EOS for long, please continue learning. There's a lot to do. We are not really done yet on EOS. If you are a trader, you want to take your money and go away, that's another way. But if you are worried about what will happen to your tokens after the launch and all that, you need to learn a lot more. You need to learn what is the block producer. So we will do a dedicated video on that. But I think keep your eyes open. Let's have a discussion on our group, and let's learn together. But overall, we need to know what is happening in the block producer world. We need to know what is going to happen in EOS world, and how this whole launch will happen. I'm also going to talk about a few risks. So whenever a new project is launched, it's almost like forking, right? Means they release a code, this block producer has to launch the network. There is a lot of risks, like there can be some new things they find. There can be immediately as soon as the network is launched, there will be attacks. There are a lot of hackers who are just waiting for these holes in a new project, and as soon as it goes live, there are a lot of block producers who are talking about how to handle this launch issues. How will they manage the risks around the security issues? When there will be a DDoS attacks, there will be some other attacks on the network. So you need to be ready to ride this. And but the good thing about EOS is, I definitely it will dump before the launch, because a lot of people cannot handle this information. They will be panicked on what will happen to their tokens. People are used to watching their tokens every day, and once they know that it's going to be frozen on June 1st, some of the people will go away. But the good thing is that there are a lot of projects which are launching on EOS. They have pushed back their airdrops, and they are saying that they will be airdropping based on the snapshot on June 1st, not like EOS DAC. So they took their snapshot on April 15th. But most of the other projects, they are taking their snapshots on the main EOS network. And that will actually encourage people to buy EOS tokens for the mainnet launch. So it's a good balance. It's not like other projects, but we need to keep an eye on what is happening with the big wallets, what is happening with the big holders of EOS tokens. So I will keep an eye. Please let us know if you have any other ideas, because I think in our group, and most of us are holding a big chunk of EOS, and we need to keep an eye on what happens here and how this market will move. So this is the EOS contract. So if you go to your own Explorer, you add your address, you click on you will see your EOS tokens, and if you click on the name EOS, this is how you can get to this details of the token. If you're wondering how to get to this page on how do you get, like, who is holding what tokens, and then you can say holders, and this will give you the information about who is the top holders of EOS. All right, guys. So any other questions? Let's do it over the group. And if nothing else on this live session, we will stop here. So do subscribe to our channel for these video notifications. And also, we started on Twitter. So we are trying to keep Twitter updated. Some people had a request that they wanted our updates to go on Twitter. So right now we are only doing the basic informational stuff, but do join, and hopefully we will try to keep this updated as well in future. And thanks for joining. I think we are done here. If there are no other questions, and thanks for let's talk in the group now, and hope that we don't go below 8,500. That's what I can say, and because that's something which I'm really watching out for. Bye bye for now.